Hello guys, welcome to the video. Today's video I've got some plans including working on the front bumper of the daily to get it ready for Fuel Fest this year. And I've also got a trim piece on the side passenger door from the project car so that it just looks cleaner, and I just plan on cleaning up this car ready for the trip. And over in the other garage, I've got the 2J swap. I'm gonna work on the cooling lines too. So funnily enough, on my way home, the heat shield underneath where the catalytic converter is fell off. And I just noticed right now, the little RC car antenna came off too. Now I don't have the best lighting in this garage, and I like to change that in the future. But this is the trim piece I'm talking about. This was chrome, and as you can see, it's chipping. And that piece over there is already black as it comes from factory. And then back here, this handle was also chrome and chipping. But I was gonna take the handle off of the project car, paint that black just like that one is because it was painted. And then later I'll work on that, on peeling the chrome off and then prepping and painting it and getting it ready for when that car gets wrapped in the future. So in case any of you are curious, it's really easy to change this trim piece. It might be easier with the window down, but all you need is a flat head, and there's this little screw right here holding it in place on the door. Once you get that out, then you can pull up, kind of, and then this whole thing will come up, and then it's just wedged in here at the mirror on this end. You just pull it back that way. There you go. I'm just gonna clean under here while this is off. I'll just take this piece. Get it under the weather stripping there. Yeah, I'll really have to scrub all the dirt that's in there and dust now, but I do think it looks better being it's all black now. All right, so I got some supplies set up here that I'll be using, and I've got these pieces here. This is the part of the bumper I'd like to finish. It was a front bumper license plate delete. And then this is the piece off of the tail of the project car to replace this piece. The difference is this one was painted, that one is chrome, and that means that I have to peel off the chrome, which I honestly don't want to do right now. So basically using this piece instead of that gives me the option to work on this a lot longer without having to worry about driving around with a missing hatch handle. All right, so I've got this ready, and this is pretty cleaned off, and I've got some, I think, 120 grit sandpaper. I'm just gonna prep both of these for Bondo so that I can apply it so I can have this smooth again like I like on that, and then to get this ready for more since I never did finish this in the first place. Now here I've got my Bondo. This is some glazing putty for later, but typically what I see done is you want to take this, pour out some Bondo eventually. All right. Smooth. So now that I've got that on, this is gonna be my hardener. Normally you want to mix that up too before you put it in. This generally doesn't need to be. And then I'm gonna pull up. It starts coming out. Generally a solid line across the blob, the circle, whatever you want to call it. And then you just want to mix it up. And this is going to get messy. There's really no way around it. The way you know it's going to be ready to be applied is when it's about an even consistency. And the more hardener you put in, the quicker it will set. I'm just going to take this piece and I'm going to put some Bondo on it. Does not need much. And then you want to kind of squeeze it in and then take off the extra just to try and get any air bubbles out. I'm gonna let that set so that when it's done I can go sand it off. I've also applied some where the front license plate would be, and with this you kind of just have to accept that your hands are gonna get dirty, but it's worth it. All right, so I've done a bit of sanding, and this is what I was gonna do with the handle piece, is it's now smooth and it doesn't say Celic anymore. I just think it has a cleaner look. And then this front bumper is also looking pretty smooth. I was gonna put glazing putty on both of these, more needed on the bumper. But things are going pretty good so far. I am now covered in Bondo, and I'll keep you guys updated. I also am wearing a mask because the amount of dust this picks up and creates is very hazardous, so I'm just trying to not die at 25. All right, I got some glazing putty put on both the rear handle and the front bumper. It is kind of thick on the bumper, but that is because I did have some deeper holes I needed to fill in. I'll go back to sanding it once it's all dry in about a half hour. So a little bit of an update. I've got the putty drying on the front bumper. It dried a lot quicker on this handle piece because there was a lot less of it. And I've got primer on that now, and I'm just making lunch over there for now. All right, so I've sanded this front bumper some more. The center is still wet, so I might grab a heat gun and try and heat that up. I definitely put it on too thick, which is why it's taking so long to dry, but that should be getting done soon. And then here is the back handle. I think it turned out pretty good. It's solid black. After a week, I'm gonna be sanding it down and making it glossy so it matches the rest of the car. Just I need to give the paint a week to dry and air out. All right, so I kind of got busy last night. Friends came over and I was having fun with them. But I did finish the front bumper for the most part. I still need to wet sand later once the paint's done curing. It'll probably take about a week for it to air out. I don't think it looks too bad for what it looked like before. The whole car is kind of dusty now, but later I'll wash it and then I will try my best to wet sand and blend that into the rest of the bumper. But I think it turned out pretty good. What I also did last night was I worked on the cooling lines for the 2JZ swap. Since I'm still struggling with the coils, I decided to work on the cooling lines and get those ready so that when I do get everything working, I can try and get it running and actually idle and stay idling rather than running it until it overheats or the battery dies, whatever. So next will be the alternator, but yeah, I got the cooling lines run. You can see them through here. That top line right there, it's actually too small on the radiator, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix that. But I got the cooling lines run. They go under. I'm gonna cut out these holes nicer and this one because that's actually gonna be the airflow up into the radiator through the trunk. Honestly, I think it looks pretty cool like this. You can see in through the windshield and see the cooling lines. But yeah, they will come out through that little gap there. I'll also make space to run the exhaust, so I'll have to cut and at least hammer out some of that to get it to fit. But yeah, I think it's turning out. I'll continue on these over the next few days and hopefully get that finished. Also, as a little side thing, this is my buddy's Audi. I think it's an A4, but it's got a huge oil leak. We think there's a hole on the block. He just brought this over, so this might be in the background. He also just bought a new truck, so he's got a spare 350 and some spare truck parts to go with it. So, all right, so it's been a few days. I've got my daily here. I'm gonna fix and finish the paintwork on there, get that all smoothed out and polished. I also got some mail today, including some vinyl, so I can replace the carbon fiber vinyl banner on the windshield with this just gloss black. And then also, I got a lowering link kit for the CBR here, which I will probably put on later today too if I have time. So I'm gonna get working on this. I'm gonna start by sanding this piece just to get a little bit of practice on before I go right to the bumper. But what I've got here is some normal tap water in a spray bottle, 600, 1500, and 2000 grit sandpaper. And later I'll also use a 3000 wet sandpaper, and I'll probably wet sand it with 2000 too. So here's after hitting it with the 600 and 2000 grit. There are imperfections. I'm no auto body artist and it's not perfect, but neither is the car. So I'm gonna finish smoothing this up and show you when it's done. No, it's by no means perfect, but I do think it turned out pretty well. Here's it in direct sunlight. There's obviously imperfections and I burned through the paint in some spots. It is pretty reflective and looks pretty good in my opinion, and it'll do. And the main thing is it looks way better than the other handle. So again, I am no professional, so there's obviously gonna be things wrong. Like there are high spots that burn through in the paint, but if you look at the rest of that, that was also painted, and I think it turned out pretty good. So for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. No, I just got cheap vinyl. I don't really care. But I've actually found this stuff works really well. It's the Vivid brand. I just found it on Amazon. And it seems almost like a cheap alternative to 3M. 3M is kind of one of the well-known good brands. I've heard their quality's kind of dropped in the past few years. They're still a pretty good brand. And this apparently is like the cheap equivalent to it. That still works relatively well. I don't have a heat gun. I shouldn't need one though. Try and peel back window weather stripping to get the vinyl underneath it, and this will help it from peeling up. I also want to make sure you clean behind these if you ever do this. This will help it from peeling up under like rain or wind. On this edge, like if you saw before, this was like really peeling in that. And what I also find fancy about this Vivid vinyl that I'll show you in a second, like some of the higher end vinyls, the gloss vinyls, they'll actually come with a protective layer on the outside. So you don't have to worry about actually scratching the vinyl and then it looking worse after install than when the vinyl looked pre-install. This is the fun part. So I didn't really get it before, but now like this almost looks like tint or paint, and it's just vinyl. And that'll just be a nice banner to help with the sun and replacing the old one that was over here. It was this old like crinkly AutoZone carbon fiber vinyl, but that's looking a lot better. All right, I've got the bike in the air now. I've got the lowering links right here. I'm gonna go and remove this piece here and replace it with the lowering link. Other nut. These have both got anti-seize on them. Old lowering link. So I got this old lowering link out, and these are the new ones. And I guess we'll find out the hard way on if these actually work or if I should go for a higher quality replacement, because this has a bearing that's greased on the inside. This is just a brass bushing, but I did sand it so that does fit now. And then that's just gonna go back down under there and connect. This end is adjustable on the lowering link. That's where the bushing end is. From there, I'm just gonna go balls to the walls, and we're just gonna go with the lowest setting because these are actually, put them side to side. These holes are lower, and this apparently is an inch lower. This is 3 inches. So we're just gonna go 3 inches. Just gonna wash my hands quick because they're really dirty. Much better. Now that's done, I'm gonna lower the bike. Now I'm just curious what this feels like now that it's lowered in the rear. Like, is this gonna feel like the Ninja? It definitely feels, oh, that's a concern. It's gonna get knocked over easier. Try this again. And there we go. Bike is now lowered. I think it definitely looks a little bit better. Definitely had technical difficulties. There's no scratches on the tank, and a mirror's broken from it falling over and hitting the 2J. Also had to shorten, that's drying, the paint's drying, the kickstand, because otherwise this would sit more of like this and want to fall over. It would not hold itself upright. So this is definitely sitting a bit better now. Let you guys know when it's done. I'll probably take it for a rip, just have some fun on it. Alright, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Let's take it for a spin. Somehow in that, got a cut above my eyebrow. That was a semi-good ride. It definitely handled a lot better. I don't know if you could hear anything in the video, but it handled a lot better. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was lower to the ground, which I didn't necessarily need, but cornering, I felt a lot more confident. So that's one thing. The main issue was I did a wheelie, and it was fine through the wheelie, except one, I went a bit high. I'm still getting used to them and that and learning. And when it came down hard, it came down a little hard. And it seemed to have cut ignition, like it cut the spark. So I don't know what was going on with that, and I'll have to look into it at some point. I don't know if it'll be before the trip, but when it come up just fine, it slammed down hard and it cut ignition. Like the engine didn't read the RPM anymore and it was really lugging down. Put the clutch in and roll fine. Figured the lights out and was like, wait, the bike's not running. I was able to start it and then put it in second and it was just fine. Kept going like nothing happened. and then dropped it to first, raised the RPMs just to see, you know, like have some fun, whatever, drive it off, it'll be fine. And then I cut again. So I'll have to look into it. Seems like there might be an electrical issue now that I wheelied it too hard. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Getting the daily ready for Fuel Fest. I think the cooling lines on the 2J swap, and then lowering the bike. Still figuring out ignition issues on the 2J, but hopefully I'll get that figured out the next few days. And when I go down to Fuel Fest, I'll see if I can figure out how other 2J swaps are doing it, on why mine's not working for some reason. But yeah, the next video will be me driving 2,000 miles to LA and sleeping in the car for most of it. I am getting an Airbnb in LA because I don't want to have that much stress through the show. But for the drive down, I think it'd be fun. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.